Well. Part two.
Part deux.
It's time to clean this bad boy. So if you watched our other video on how to prime, Jay left us with a real wild cliffhanger there. It's like, oh no, he covered his airbrush in gunky black primer, which is one of the toughest things to clean. Mm-hmm. What do we do now?
What are you going to do?
And how many horror stories do we have of someone who brought this
You just buy a new airbrush.
This one goes in the garbage, and you buy a new one. That's right. And they're consumables, right?
They're consumables.
So we're going to do just a quick little video on how to clean this out. And for that, we've got a couple of tools here that are really important. We've got our proprietary cleaning kit that H&S sells. So like whether you're using an H&S airbrush or not, you'll need a nozzle cleaner, and you'll need some sort of bristle brush here that can get inside the airbrush and clean it out. And then probably, just almost as important, some lovely little Q-tips here. You can get different shaped ones of these.
What liquid are you going to use?
We're going to use something that says cleaner on it.
Nice.
In this case, it's an airbrush cleaner.
Airbrush cleaner, wow.
Yeah, I like the Bleo one. It works well.
It works well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we are not huge proponents of spray cleaning.
No.
Yeah,
no, I really don't.
Because it just doesn't do a great job. That's probably the big, and you end up using a lot of cleaner.
Yeah. Right? So a little background. Like we've been selling airbrushes for a very long time now, and so we've seen it all. You're going to see me. So while Jay talks, I'm just going to be. I'll let Jay talk, but I'm just going to be flushing this bowl out a little bit. Yeah, so I'm going to spray through a little bit of this black just to kind of help clear it out. So. And, the vast majority of problems are to do with cleaning. And people get all kinds of ideas because they watch videos, watch like this one. But there's a couple ones that absolutely cringe. And one of the ones that actually, in this case, the manufacturer, Hardin Steenbeck, purposely, they put in their own instructions not to just spray cleaner.
Good.
So people, and not to like... They don't suggest necessarily like ultrasonic cleaning it. So those are the two big ones. So the spraying of the cleaner sounds intuitive. You're like, well, this breaks down paint, so why don't I spray it? Well, the problem is it doesn't do it enough. It doesn't work that fast. It needs a bit of elbow grease.
See how it's already spraying clear?
That's just water.
You might be able to convince yourself that that's clean, right?
Right.
It's not.
It's
but
not. Yeah.
If I was to still using my airbrush right now, and I was going to start doing another color, I would be actually okay with that level of cleanliness, provided everything was working well and I was spraying water clear. Yeah. I could now load in another color and use it that way. I would be fine with that.
Yeah. So anyway, first thing, spraying the cleaner, spraying just water, not enough. Bathing it in a liquid, again, sounds like, hey, we'll just put it in there for a bit. It'll break everything down. The problem is it will also break up some of the internal pieces of your airbrush. There's like usually rubber gaskets and wax seals and things like that in there to keep the tool working correctly, and just leaving it in there will damage them. So then you'll need to source new bits and bobs to fix those, to replace those. And frankly, as you're going to see as Chris goes through this process, it is completely unnecessary. Instead of he's removing the needle from the front there, just that way you pull more paint back in. But yeah, is this whole process is only going to take like, maybe 10, max 15 minutes. Chris will be a little quicker because he's done this like hundreds of times. And, so I tell people just budget that, budget in your paint session. You're like, I'm going to, sitting down to airbrush, you're not likely going to sit down to airbrush because you're like, I got 10 minutes to do this. Like, you're probably going to, make sure you have that like 30 minutes to an hour at least, and save 10 minutes or more for this last part. And it's not hard. It's just, you just have to be sort of like a little, patient.
What all those things you mentioned have in common that are things you shouldn't do is that they're easy.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, in life, often the really easy thing to do is not the right thing to do. So this is not any different than that.
But like literally, so he's poured a bit of cleaner into this lid. He's got his soaked Q-tip, and now he's just gonna go around by hand, just pulling paint. You can see how much is left in there. Like he said earlier, like, oh, I sprayed it out and it looks clear. Yeah, well, guess what? It's not. That's That's a dirty Q-tip pretty fast. And you'll say, well, you know, it's just like slightly tinged water, you know, but that's enough. So people forget that what happens is that kind of slightly pigmented liquid, it dries and forms a film. And that film is enough to clog the nozzle. It'll seal around the needle. It'll dry internally and make things slide. They won't slide nicely anymore. There's a spot in the case of this airbrush where the trigger sits on a ball. There's like a ball and socket when it pushes down on the air valve to let the air out. That gets sticky. So all these things, and it's just because, and this can still happen even in you put it in the ultrasonic, is you take it out, but you don't necessarily dry every piece individually. Most people don't, because like you said, they're doing it quickly rather than thoroughly. And that's enough. So you can see here he's pushing a little. He's got to use a little bit of force here with the Q-tip.
Not too much.
But yeah, it's. I mean, if you see this Q-tip here, like look at this.
It's all junked up.
It's
already.
just junked up. Like there's tons of paint left in there. So
it's easier to do. Like now that all the paint's actually been removed, I just have to basically scoop it out.
Yeah. So when it comes to cleaning, like it's not really that scientific. Like get yourself appropriate airbrush cleaning liquid. So you know Vallejo or Iwata makes a liquid. AK has one. These are liquids that are made. You know, they have a mix of like a bit of isopropyl and some water and some, you know, other whatever is in Windex, I guess.
Ammonium.
I
don't know if they have that.
They put basically the right combination and concentration of these liquids, so it'll break out the paint, but not be too harsh. And yeah, all you got to do is just get some Q-tips, soak them, and work your way around, and use some paper towel, and that'll do 99% of the work. You know, when we get to the nozzle, that cleaning tool with the special pipe cleaner is just very useful and handy. You could necessarily do it without it, but you know, sometimes it's just a hard to reach thing. It's nice to have that dedicated tool for that.
Keep in mind, the primer is probably one of the hardest things to clean out.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It can be quite thick, right?
And like this sounds like overkill, like it's polishing, but I have another one of those, like it's kind of like a philosophical thing where if you take this level of diligence with every piece of the airbrush, you form a habitual thing, and you can see this in all kinds of professions where sometimes someone's like, "Does that person? That seems overkill. Look how many times they're doing this little repetitive thing," or you know, you see this in sports a lot. Some athlete will have a little ritual they do, and it's all based on like keeping this rhythm going. And in this case, if you just clean every piece, even if it's not super dirty, diligently, you're not going to forget or miss a thing. You just build that into your workflow. So here's the air cap, the front end of the airbrush. You want to keep this as well clean. This tends to get dirtier on like long sessions. The front end where the guard is, you know, just make sure that little hole at the end where the nozzle peeks out is clean. You know, if the air guard will get a little dirty. Sometimes it's hard to clean. I wouldn't worry super much about that, but
these parts here should have no paint on them.
Yeah, so you got the trigger assembly,
unless something went really
the
wrong,
back end, the spring and the slidey mechanism. Those are, you know, they won't really stop working if you know, if they're dirty. But like I said, it's important. Just keep it all clean as a habit. And then we got the nozzle, the most critical element of the whole cleaning procedure.
It's amazing how important this piece is.
Yeah. So all it takes again is that little bit of film, a little bit of dirty water drying in there, and that's enough. That'll clog it. This thing is a fraction of a millimeter in diameter at the end, at the small end. And so here he goes. So he's going to just use the little scrapey tool. And this little scrapey tool basically is like a needle, but it's cut to have a taper so that it isn't completely round. And that hard edge is what will be enough to scrape the inside of the nozzle. The key here is basically don't push at all. You don't need to push. You just gently turn it. And that'll scrape out any paint or anything in there. Yeah. And it's, again, you're going to see little micro amounts of paint come out. Again, it doesn't seem like much, but it will make the difference for sure. Yeah. So, some small things you can do, like Chris did this all without a utility sink or anything. You can do all of this without any extra equipment. Literally just some paper towel, Q-tips, and cleaner. If you do decide to use your sink, make sure you have a stopper because it's very easy to lose bits down the drain really quickly. So there you go. And then you can save some of that cleaner that you didn't use, and then you put the sucker back together.
Now, one thing we always recommend with our airbrushes, and this is something I would do before I even did my first priming or anything like that, is just get really intimately familiar with taking apart and putting your airbrush back
Absolutely.
together. So, like Jay said, I've done this thousands of times, but I think you should probably have done it at least 10 times before you airbrush for the first time.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be sitting there being like, oh, which piece goes where?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a crazy amount of pieces, but you definitely get very familiar. And we do this when people get into the hobby here with us and buy their airbrush equipment with us. We invite them back in to do all of this, what we just explained. And the first thing I literally do is spend the first 20 minutes taking the whole thing apart and putting it back together, explaining what every piece does, and having the student do the same. So yeah, these things make a world of difference. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, Chris is miming the little, yeah. There's a little spring in that thing too, but yeah, there's a little order of operations, how this all goes back. Like I said, once you do it a half dozen times, you'll be pretty good. So
Loosen the chunk.
yeah, and like everything here is hand tightened. So also you should never need to take any tools, like no wrenches, no grippy things. Everything's hand tightened. When you poke that needle through at the end, it should come to a stop naturally. You don't need to force anything. If you're forcing something, there's probably something in the way. Yep. So put that all together, and then do a little test at the end. Make sure it's all good.
So I usually, just because I've cleaned it so many times, I usually don't test my airbrush at the end of the cleaning session. If you're new to it, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea just to load up a little bit of water and fire some through.
So the goal of loading the water in, and I show this to people, and spraying the water is to do it like, you'll be able to tell right away if the thing is clean enough, because you will see an even cone of water come out. So you can hold it up to the light, or you can listen to it. If something is still not quite right, it'll hiss funny ways. The cone won't be nice and even. Like you said, Chris said, he's like, I got this, I've done this a million times, but with the newbie, it's, yeah, and then you can also empty the chamber of any like random, bits that are stuck in there.
So I just put a bit of water in,
Yeah.
and
Just let it rip. Yeah,
just going to slowly open the cone up, and
sounds pretty
I'm going to
good.
look at the shape of the cone.
Yeah,
And it's hard to see in the video.
You can see it a little
bit,
Yep,
actually.
You can see it.
And if it's going on any angle, you want to pay attention to that as well, right? But this is actually firing straight down the middle.
Yep.
And we know that
Nothing
it is
is-
working really good.
Nothing is choppy.
So we're happy with that.
Yep.
So I just add that to my first thing I do when I airbrush. So that's how I check and balance myself. Is like I take my airbrush out, getting ready to airbrush,
need extra
and I
cleaner.
load in some water first and just spray it through. Okay, it's working. That means I cleaned it well last time. So when you get a bit more comfortable, you can just do that instead. That way you don't have to add things on to the end of your thing.
Yeah.
But that's it. We successfully cleaned our airbrush. Like I think Jay said, he put out really, really well is that if you just get into that habit, it doesn't feel like it's just part of your airbrush session. So look, you're going to spend an hour and a half airbrushing. What's 5 to 10 minutes at the end cleaning your airbrush properly?
Yeah.
Each time, right?
Yeah.
So we hope that was super helpful. We love sharing our knowledge with you guys. Let us know if there's anything else you want to learn about the airbrush. We plan on doing some highlighting videos. We plan on doing like as we go along, we'll probably add like special effects things and like extra taping, all that stuff, all the fun stuff you can do with the airbrush. But yeah, let us know. Hopefully that was helpful, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.